Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us on Gravitas. Pakistan has a new army chief in Qamar Javed Bajwa. Almost on cue with the exit of Raheel Sharif, a terror attack takes place in Nagrota in the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. Should the appointment of a new army chief be welcomed by India, or is it more about civil-military equations in Pakistan? WION's bureau chief in Islamabad, Taha Siddiqui, looks at the legacy of Raheel Sharif.
Pakistan's new army chief Qamar Javed Bajwa formally took charge on Tuesday, with outgoing Chief General Raheel Sharif making a parting shot in India.
मैं भारत पर वाजे करना चाहता हूं कि हमारी तहम्मुल की पॉलिसी को किसी किस्म की कमजोरी समझना खुद उसके लिए खतरनाक साबित होगा.
General Sharif had taken charge at a time when Pakistan Army's reputation was at an all-time low. He turned this image around through an aggressive self-projecting public relations campaign, but while this image building happened, many military operations he launched could not reach their conclusion, and in recent months Pakistan has once again seen a spike in terror activities. Despite his claims of making the country safer, Pakistan witnessed more than 800 terror acts in the 3 years that General Raheel Sharif was in office. Critics say that while the general promised zero tolerance for militancy, the military under him continued to tolerate some militant groups considered as pro-Pakistan. Given this policy, relations with Afghanistan and India deteriorated to an all-new low, even though the civilian leadership tried to mend ties with regional powers. With foreign and domestic security policy remaining with the military, any effort of rapprochement with India, Afghanistan or even Iran by Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif got snubbed. The outgoing army chief also went after corrupt senior military officers, but stopped short of actually punishing the bigwigs. A case in point, the family of his predecessor, General Kiani, who were allegedly involved in a multi-billion rupees real estate scandal. Under General Sharif, the civilian leadership also faced many onslaughts, and Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif's government was threatened repeatedly, often with orchestrated events which ensured that the civil-military imbalance remained tilted in the favor of the army. Many in Pakistan consider General Raheel Sharif's tenure as a legacy, but few question his failure to deliver on the promises he made. Under him, the Pakistan military continued to differentiate between good and bad Taliban, and also at the same time did not allow for civilian supremacy. Will the new chief change these policies? Observers think otherwise. This is Taha Siddiqui with cameraman Rao Bilal reporting for WION from Islamabad.
All right, to talk more about that new face of the Pakistani army, we are joined right now by, from Islamabad, we have Mr. S.M. Hali, a well-known military affairs analyst. Mr. Sushant Sareen of the Vivekanand Foundation will join us from Delhi in a bit. Let's go across to Mr. Hali first of all. Thanks so much for joining us here on Gravitas. What is the significance, Mr. Hali, of General Bajwa's previous appointment as the IG of Training and Inspection? We understand that that was also the appointment that General Sharif held before he was appointed the Chief of Army Staff.
Indeed, thank you so much for having me on your show. I would like to make it clear that the post of the Inspector General Training and Evaluation is extremely important because the incumbent is responsible for not only chalking out the strategy to some extent, but more importantly to play out the war games, the training of the troops, the training of the commands, and also coordinating various strategies. So from that point of view, he brings in a very rich experience. But I would like to actually point out to two more of his tenures, which have brought him not only very rich experience, but also won him laurels. One was the command of the 10 Corps, which is actually responsible right from the northern areas in Gilgit-Baltistan down up to the line of control, right up to Sialkot. In that, he has been exposed to the Kashmir as well as the boundary with India. And the second appointment I'm going to talk about is his tenure as part of the International United Nations peacekeeping forces in Congo, in which one of your former chiefs, General Bikram Singh, was the commanding officer, and General Bajwa served under him, and General Bikram speaks very highly of General Bajwa's professionalism.
Right. Mr. Hali, you did mention the fact that General Bajwa has held some significant posts, specifically those of Pakistan-controlled Kashmir as well, along that line of control, of course. Do you think that's going to be a very significant factor of how India is going to look at the appointment of the new chief?
Well, you see, I can understand where you're coming from. India must be having a number of thoughts, a number of questions, and from that point of view, General Bajwa brings in a gray area that is he going to follow the same policies that have been in force, or is he going to change them? But I would like to mention here that, first of all, General Bajwa's operational I would say experience is even richer than General Raheel Sharif's. That is, of course, before he took over as the army chief. And secondly, normally it so happens that the army does not change its strategy, at least not in a hurry. So it's going to be more of the same. And so India has to study what has been going on and take a cue from that.
Right. Mr. Hali, let's talk a little bit more about what we do and what we don't know about General Bajwa. Like, unlike General Sharif, who had quite a cult following in Pakistan and, of course, was tracked very closely across the border here in India, we don't know that much about General Bajwa's predilections, for instance, when it comes to things like homegrown terror within Pakistan. But even if we were to know what his personal predilections are, do those really make an impact as his position as the new Chief of Army Staff, or is he going to just fall in line with the established rules perhaps of the Pakistani military?
Well, initially he will follow the same line, and if you watch the ceremony this morning when the baton of command was changing hands, while General Raheel Sharif was making his speech, and he was also making predictions that General Bajwa will follow the same policies, General Bajwa was continually nodding his head in assent. So that gives an indication that probably it is more of the same. But you see, knowing General Bajwa a little bit, I can tell you that he is slightly different from General Raheel Sharif, that he does not prefer publicity. But he is also a soldier's soldier. He would like to mix with the ordinary soldiers, even with the people, the common people. He is not media savvy, but he is not media shy either.
Okay, Mr. Hali, stay with us. I've also got our Surya Gangadharan of WION joining us right now on the phone line. He's going to talk a little bit more with us about the new chief. Surya, as Mr. Hali is pointing out, he's not exactly known to be a media person, Mr. Bajwa, General Bajwa, that is. But like General Sharif said today, he has been nodding along in terms of some of the statements made by General Sharif when he was handing over power. Do we go by the sort of body language and assume that this is going to be the path that General Bajwa is going to take, or is he going to perhaps have a very different stance from what General Sharif has displayed so far?
Well, I think, frankly, nobody really knows, at least on this side of the border, who General Bajwa is and exactly what he brings to the table. Is he going to be a hawk like his predecessor? Is he going to be more dovish? I mean, some of these labels, frankly, I say this knowing fully well that some of these labels don't really matter, because the Pakistan Army has an institutional outlook on India. And I would presume that no matter who the chief is, he will follow that outlook, or he will emulate what that institutional framework is or wants him to be. And there may be some nuances here and there. He may be perhaps more inclined to look at the western frontier, where they have an issue with terrorists and other groups. He may want perhaps less of fireworks on the line of control. And to that extent, he may tell some of the terror groups to rein in their people. But I don't expect wholesale transformation or change of any kind. Frankly, that is not what the Pak Army wants. And I would presume that to some degree the fireworks on the LC or those terror strikes will continue. But perhaps it would depend on how it will all depend on how he sees it,
Right.
Bajwa, what his views are, his priorities are, where he thinks the nation's interests lie.
Right, and Surya, what about India then? How exactly is India going to, approach this new appointment? Is it going to be a simple wait and watch policy, or what else can we expect from this side of the border?
I think there's a deep sense of cynicism in India about Pakistan, at least within the establishment, perhaps within many sections of the media, certainly among many sections of the general public, because one is attuned to seeing Pakistan only in a certain light, like perhaps terrorism or Pak army, coups, that kind of thing. So, in a sense, maybe the cynicism will also permeate some of the outlook about the new chief. It'll be, yes, largely it'll be wait and watch. They'll want to see what he does. They don't expect anything to change, and we'll have to keep our defenses up. But yes, I think at some level there will be some expectation that maybe, at least as far as civil-military relations in Pakistan is concerned, General Bajwa will be more, in that sense, willing to give the civilians rope in that sense,
All right.
and allow them to govern.
All right, Surya and Mr. Hali, do stay with us. We have been talking about Qamar Javed Bajwa, so let's get a little bit more dope on exactly who the man is. Let's take a quick look at who he succeeded and who he is really to Pakistan.
An old Kashmir hand, General Bajwa is taking charge during a period of heightened India-Pakistan border tensions. In fact, for long he was with the Rawalpindi-based 10 Corps, which is responsible for guarding the line of control. General Bajwa was Inspector General for Training and Evaluation at General Headquarters before his appointment, a post that General Sharif also occupied. He's the 4th Infantry Officer of the Baloch Regiment to become the Pakistan Army Chief. General Bajwa superseded 4 top generals to occupy the Army Chief's post. Unlike General Sharif, he's not known as an attention seeker. Bajwa has served under former Indian Army Chief General Bikram Singh on a UN mission in Congo in the past. Bureau Report, WION.
Let's go back to Mr. S.M. Hali, who joins us right now from Islamabad. Mr. Hali, we saw that homegrown terror and the fight against it was really a big part of General Sharif's legacy as the Chief of Army Staff of the Pakistan Army. Do you think that homegrown terrorism is going to be, and domestic terrorism really is going to be a big part of General Bajwa's plans as well?
Well, you see, look at it from Pakistan's point of view. Pakistan has already sacrificed, or shall we say, lost more than 70,000 souls only to the war on terror. So therefore, this is the biggest problem that we face, terrorism. I don't think General Bajwa will be in a hurry to wrap up the operation, the military operation Zarbayaz, which is going on in North Waziristan, or call off the military operation to wind up terrorism, because this has to be taken care of and it has to be rooted out. But he can't do it alone. This has to be with the help of the government, which chalked out the National Action Plan, and it will follow it. But there's one more thing I wanted to point out, if you permit, that you see, I see it as an advantage that General Bajwa had served under General Bikram Singh in Congo at the United Nations Peacekeeping Force, because that gives him an insight into kind of rubbing shoulders or working along with his Indian counterparts. So perhaps he will not be shy from talking to his Indian counterpart right now and sort out, taking a cue from, very briefly, he interacted with the media today after taking the command of the army, and he said that you are likely to see less of firing or violations of the line of control. So that is actually a hopeful sign.
All right, those are some interesting points you've brought up, Mr. Hali. Let's go across to Surya as well for more on that. Mr. Hali is pointing out, Surya, that General Bajwa has served with General Bikram Singh in the United Nations before, and perhaps that is going to make a difference to the relationship between India and Pakistan. Let's have your take on that.
Well, I think in terms of certain familiarity, yes, service in a UN operation may help. But at the end of the day, I think it's all about, it's not so much about the two generals talking to each other, because they are very, very different. They come from very different backgrounds, in the sense that the Indian Army Chief works under a very strong civilian framework. And to that extent, he has no independence in that sense in picking up the phone and talking to his Pakistani counterpart. Whereas the Pakistani general, the chief there, is his own man. And
Right.
as we all know, he virtually runs the country. So I see enormous issues here in both sides talking to each other because they're so unequal.
All right, but what about that comment that Mr. Hali just gave us, that he did say after his taking over command of the army that when addressing the media that perhaps there are going to be lesser instances of ceasefire violations along the line of control. So positive signs perhaps that India needs to look at as well?
Well, I certainly hope there are less of that, but frankly, this is only a hope because we don't know what General Bajwa is going to do. This is only his first day in office. And it'll take over I suppose that it'll take him at least a month or a couple of months to figure out what he wants to do, where his priorities lie. What about the war on terror in the western province where he's engaged against militants of various kinds? What about the border with India? So I think we have to give him some time to figure out what he wants to do, how he wants to do it, where his priorities lie. And then we also have to look at that vital link, What is his equation with the civilian government going to be? Is it going to be as daggers drawn as it was with General Sharif? Or is it going to be something more amicable? That's something we have to watch out for because really this is about the internal equations in Pakistan between how the military and the civilians deal with each other.
Right.
And who is willing to give the other more space. I think that is what is really crucial here.
Mr. Hali, does it then boil down to just that, the fact that, there have been rumors of a tenuous relationship, let's call it that, between General Sharif and Nawaz Sharif. What about the civilian-military relationship under General Bajwa? What do you portend happening under his tenure?
Well, I would like to point out here one thing. Is that I'll not deny that there were definite tensions between the civilian leadership and the military leadership in Pakistan. But you must give credit to Pakistan Army that despite temptations, despite situations which could have probably in the former past when a number of military rulers usurped power, General Raheel Sharif resisted that temptation and he did not take the reign of ruling the country in his own hands. Okay, having said that, now you see General Bajwa is making a fresh start. And already I see signs, if you may have read one of the headlines today in Pakistani dailies, that the Pakistani High Commissioner in New Delhi has said that India and Pakistan are willing to talk about peace. Now this is something very interesting. Even before the new army chief has taken over, if the civilian government makes an announcement of this kind, that means the civilian government is ready to take up its real mantle as calling the shots in Pakistan. That, if to take a hint, I think the civilian government is going to assert itself.
We're losing our connection with you. Let's quickly go across. Sushant Sareen of the Vivekananda International Foundation also joins us on the show right now. Mr. Sareen, thanks for joining in on the conversation. I'm not sure if you were able to hear what Mr. Hali was saying, but there is talk of an improvement of the India-Pakistan relationship now that General Bajwa has taken over. But we've also had this incident across in Jammu and Kashmir today with that attack on Nagrota. Put all of this in perspective for us.
No, I just heard the last part of what Mr. Hali was saying. And I'm afraid I can't agree with it, partly for the reason which you yourself just stated, that, we've had this attack today. And obviously, this does not augur well for how the future is likely to unfold. The second thing is that, this business about what the Pakistani High Commissioner said, frankly speaking, he didn't say anything new, and he didn't say anything which could actually, bring about a thaw in the relations between India and Pakistan. It is the same old, tired formulation from the Pakistani side that, let's have unconditional talks. And the next sentence is, but Kashmir has to be discussed topmost. We'll see what about terrorism. But in any case, terrorism is not something that we are doing. And that is the kind of blanket denial which simply is not going to wash down anybody's throat. The third thing is that while there is a lot being made about, how there's been this peaceful transition in Pakistan, a new guy has taken over, who way back in 2014 was one of the guys who ensured that there was no destabilization or deposition of or Nawaz Sharif was not being deposed.
Right.
But, you know, it's one thing for a general to not be in favor of deposing an elected government, and quite another for that same general to actually accept the principle of civilian supremacy in all its manifestation and all respects. And I don't think that the Pakistan Army is at this point in time or for the foreseeable future likely to accept civilian supremacy. And that is assuming that even if the civilians were, you know, in a position of supremacy and could, the army would follow their orders, the civilians were actually interested in peace with India, because Nawaz Sharif's track record from 2013 onwards does not demonstrate that he is genuinely interested in peace. He's still living in a time bubble of the 1990s where he thought that at one level you can engage with India and at another level you can continue to sponsor terrorism. And I'm afraid that's not going to wash down very well in India anymore.
Right, Mr. Sareen, unfortunately we're running out of time on the program, but I would like to ask both of you to give your final reactions. Let's go across to Mr. Hali very quickly. If you can tell us if you'd like to react to what Mr. Sareen just said, or just wrap up for us on what General Bajwa is going to mean for the India-Pakistan relationship.
Well, whatever Mr. Sareen said, I would not fully agree with that, because obviously he's angry and he's taking cues from what has happened in the past. But you see, the future is another day. This is another day. Let us not lose hope. I'm sure things will work out and peace will return to the subcontinent.
All right, Mr. Sareen, let's not lose hope is what Mr. Hali is saying, but past incidents can't always be forgotten, especially when they're as recent as this morning.
Absolutely. And frankly speaking, you know, it's not a question of being hopeful or not being hopeful. It's a question of being realistic and really analyzing the facts on the ground. Now, if the facts on the ground were to change as we go along in the next weeks and months ahead, and the telltale signs of that will come with the kind of actions which are taken from the Pakistani side. But if nothing happens and it's pretty much business as usual, then I don't see what you're going to be hopeful about. Right. I don't think things are going to be looking up very well in the next couple of weeks if what has been happening today and in the last couple of weeks continues you know, in the weeks ahead. I'm afraid I can't be hopeful.
All right, terse words there from Mr. Sushant Sareen, but thank you for joining us on the program, as well as Mr. S.M. Hali. Appreciate your time, and of course Surya Gangadharan, thank you for taking part in that conversation. We are going to have to take a break on that note, but on the other side, how close would Russia and the US be in a Trump administration in tackling the Syrian crisis? More on that after the break. Don't go anywhere.